God is Love, the Flood, Part 2, Additional Pre-Flood Conditions. Editor's Note: Matthew 24:37 states, "As the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." In the green fields, and under the shadow of the goodly trees, the Antediluvians set up the altars of their idols. Extensive groves that retained their foliage throughout the year were dedicated to the worship of false gods. With these groves were connected beautiful gardens. Their long, winding avenues, overhung with fruit-bearing trees of all descriptions, adorned with statuary, and furnished with all that could delight the senses, or minister to the voluptuous desire of the people, and thus allure them to participate in the idolatrous worship. Men put God out of their knowledge, and worship the creatures of their own imagination. And as the result, they became more and more debased. The psalmist describes the effect produced upon the worshiper by the adoration of idols. He says, "They that make them are like unto them. So is every one that trusteth in them." Psalms 115:8. It is a law of the human mind that by beholding we become changed. Man will rise no higher than his conceptions of truth, purity, and holiness. If the mind is never exalted above the level of humanity, if it is not uplifted by faith to contemplate infinite wisdom and love, man will be constantly sinking lower and lower. The worshippers of false gods clothed their deities with human attributes to the likeness of sinful humanity. They were defiled in consequence. God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Genesis 6:5. The earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. Genesis 6:11. God had given man his commandments as a rule of life, but his law was transgressed, and every conceivable sin was the result. The wickedness of men was open and daring. Justice was trampled in the dust, and the cries of the oppressed reached unto heaven. Polygamy had been early introduced, contrary to the divine arrangement at the beginning. The Lord gave to Adam one wife, showing his order in that respect. But after the fall, men chose to follow their own sinful desires, and as the result, crime and wretchedness rapidly increased. Neither the marriage relation nor the rights of property were respected. Whoever coveted the wives or the possessions of his neighbor took them by force, and men exalted in their deeds of violence. They delighted in destroying the life of animals, and the use of flesh foods rendered them still more cruel and bloodthirsty, until they came to regard human life with astonishing indifference. The world was in its infancy, yet iniquity had become so deep and widespread that God could no longer bear with it. And he said, "I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth." Genesis 6:7. God declared that his Spirit should not always strive with the guilty race. if they did not cease to pollute with their sins the world and its rich treasures. He would blot them from his creation, and would destroy the things which he had delighted to bless them. He would sweep away the beasts of the field, and the vegetation which furnished such an abundant supply of food, and would transform the fair earth into one vast scene of desolation and ruin. Next, the flood, part 3, Noah,